Working one-on-one with Mitchell, who was reading out loud to me at my desk, I couldn't help but notice that a small group of girls sitting near the front of the classroom wasn't participating in the assignment. Instead, the trio was leaning over their desks looking at a photograph in the newspaper. Their small heads were huddled together, a mixture of brown and blonde. I decided to wait a few more minutes before saying anything to them when they stood up and started walking toward me, newspaper in hand. "Mrs. Trull, may we interrupt you for a minute?" Allie politely asked as Callie and Courtney stood by her side. "Of course," I said. "Do you have a question about the assignment?" "No," she said, laying out the newspaper across my desk. "We found this picture of all these dogs and puppies in the paper, and we want to know what's going to happen to them." An adult reading the paper would have probably overlooked the image. After all, a black and white photo of a crudely taped cardboard box overflowing with puppies was hardly newsworthy. But the mishmash of fuzzy round heads and fat little paws poking out in every direction from the puppy pile had drawn the girls in like a magnet. "Well," I said, pausing for a minute, "these dogs don't currently have a home. Dalhart has a facility where lost animals stay until they can find a new home." The caption under the photo says the dogs are available for adoption and that anybody interested in getting one should call the Animal Control Office before Friday, Callie added. "But what happens to the dogs after Friday?" I didn't know what to say, and I certainly didn't want to teach an unplanned lesson about the sobering reality of animal homelessness. So instead, I encouraged them to ask their parents about adopting a dog, which would help reduce the animal overpopulation problem. Satisfied with my answer, the girls went back to their desks and Mitchell started reading out loud to me again. But after a few minutes, Mitchell stopped when the girls reappeared. "Mrs. Trull, we have some more questions," Courtney said. "Where were these puppies found, and who's taking care of them?" "Well, they were probably found somewhere around town," I said, "and the people who work at the animal control facility where the dogs are staying now are taking care of them. Why don't you go back to your desk and finish your reading assignment? We don't have much time left before lunch." I was trying to deftly divert their attention off the dogs. As they walked away, Mitchell once again started reading to me. But before he could finish the paragraph that he had started, he informed me that the girls were heading back. "Here they come again," he said, slightly exasperated. "These dogs are all so cute," Callie continued as she held out the newspaper. "What happens if nobody takes them home?" I've always encouraged my students to ask questions about things they don't understand, but as I listened to their confusion and concern about the puppies, I was at a loss for words. Animals have always been an important part of my life. My husband, Mark, and I were forever rescuing stray dogs and cats, making them our pets or finding them new homes. And even though I did my small part to help when I could, I was painfully aware, like most other animal lovers, of the overwhelming problem of homeless animals. As a result, my struggle right then was real. Should I risk telling my students the truth about stray animals, or should I assure them that the dogs would be adopted, even though I knew they probably wouldn't be? As much as I hated being the bearer of bad news, I realized I had no other choice. All across the country, there's a problem with animal overpopulation, I began. Unfortunately, we have the same problem here in Dalhart. There are too many cats and dogs compared to the number of families that want pets. Instead of allowing the animals to run loose and become sick or injured, animal shelters are safe places where they can stay and see if somebody will adopt them and give them a new home. The girls nodded their heads, following my seemingly sage and adult logic. But most of the shelters are so overcrowded the animals can only stay for a short time, I continued. If nobody adopts them within a few days, then, sadly, they are put to sleep. I cringed a little as I said those last 3 words, I am an animal advocate, and it bothers me that such a nice little term is